That's right, folks. It's time. Once again, we're going to try this again. We're going to try this a second time. We'll see how well this goes the second time. Big props to... Okay, I don't know what that is. How do I even say this? Big props to Bad Zorig Vanchig, Chinggis Khani Magtal Trap Remix. I loved it. Thought it was great. That throat singing, right? The throat singing. Well, welcome, folks. Deep Grooves. Hey, welcome, Zio Duke. Finally, we have at least one viewer. That's all I asked for. Davey's here. Thank you, Davey. That's all I asked. Just one viewer, so I can get this started properly. So at least one person is watching this. But anyway, I'm very excited about this Austerlitz special. You got 3 after 3 minutes. Hell yeah. One of those is me. Yeah, no. So we're just going to pretend this is Wednesday, guys. So just ignore that. I was like, I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to hit start stream. We're doing this, bitch. So anyway, I'm very excited about this. This is the Austerlitz special of War and Peace Wednesdays. This is considered Napoleon's masterpiece, as we see here in this documentary that we're going to watch. So what we're going to do is, instead of watching 2 episodes of War and Peace, we're going to be watching this amazing documentary called Napoleon's Masterpiece, Austerlitz, 1805. And what this will do is it will help us. This is amazing how connected to history War and Peace is. It tells a story with the war as its backdrop. So understanding this conflict, and no, it's War and Peace Wednesdays. Get over it. I'm a celebrity streamer. I could just make up reality, guys. Do you want me to show my dick like I show speed? That's the most important thing in the world right now if you're a 13-year-old boy. If you're a 13-year-old boy, the most important thing in the world is that I show speed showed his meat. That's what they're saying, his meat. Anyway, guys, for you to better understand this episode, Austerlitz, it's going to be awesome for you to have a good understanding of the history of the conflict. And it really is something else. This upstart who was not born of noble blood or anything, came out of nowhere, turned himself into the goddamn king of France in 10 years, and now he's rampaging all over Europe using tactics and strategies that all the old empires don't know how to handle, with the exception of the British Empire and their their navy there. The navy was able to hold back France, no problem. But on the ground, Napoleon was dominant, and I'm talking dominant, folks. And this is right here considered his masterpiece. So we're going to watch this, and at a specific moment, I'm going to pause it, and we're going to show one clip from the previous episode of War and Peace that we were watching, specifically the skirmish at Skrongraben episode. And this will really color. This is the amazing scene. I want to show it twice because it's so amazing. But this, understanding the history of it, really colors this scene. Really kind of cements just how incredible what was happening as this was happening, and how incredible it was. It was the Grand Armée, right? The Grand Armée and its unbelievable capabilities. All right, so let's get to it. Big props also to Running Wild, War and Peace, this amazing music video with a bunch of, clips from all the various War and Peace episodes. Not too much from the one that we're watching, more of the more modern ones. But that's okay. All right, let's get to it. Napoleon's masterpiece, Austerlitz.
Big History TV History March collaboration. Supported by our sponsor, The Great Courses Plus.
Very much so, Zio Duke.
In December 1804, in the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, Napoleon Bonaparte crowned himself Emperor of the French. Europe had never seen such a sudden and dramatic rise to power. A son of impoverished Corsican nobility to military dictator of France in little more than 10 years. Revolution and war had cleared Napoleon's path to the throne. war would dominate his 10-year reign.
He loved
A
it.
conflict unprecedented in history that would leave millions dead and a continent in turmoil.
No. Napoleon felt more comfortable on the battlefield than he did on his throne.
8 months after Napoleon's coronation, the French Empire and its Spanish ally were at war with Britain, and Napoleon had assembled an army of 180,000 men along the Channel coast. But as long as the British Royal Navy ruled the seas, invasion was impossible. But nor could Britain challenge France on land.
This documentary has some
And
really
so British
great
Prime
paintings.
Minister William Pitt
Watch for
tried
the
to build a
paintings.
European coalition against Napoleon, using diplomacy and gold.
And I was going to line up the clip here, but it was getting too clip happy. And I just wanted to point out that we saw this actually in War and Peace. We saw Napoleon talking to an Austrian diplomat. You know, he's trying to, negotiator, right? And he's like, what, are you, Europe and Russia haven't been colluding against me this entire time? And it's 100% true. It was totally 100% true. Europe was helping anybody willing to fight against the French because everyone was getting their ass kicked. Hey, it's your boy. Greetings from South Boston. Thank you, Lenny, for coming in. Welcome to the Austerlitz special of War and Peace Wednesdays.
Britain would prove Napoleon's most steadfast enemy, and its press delighted in relentless mockery of the French emperor.
I love these.
Britain and France were old rivals in Europe and overseas. But now, Pitt feared Napoleon's conquests had made France too powerful. The French emperor had to be defeated, and Europe's balance of power restored if there was ever to be lasting peace. Pitt found willing allies in Europe, among monarchs who despised Napoleon as a product of the French Revolution and a dangerous threat to the existing order. Austria harbored the deepest.
So we see, these are the players that we see, Alexander and Francois here. We see them in War and Peace.
Grievances, having seen her influence in Germany and Italy steadily eroded by French victories. The final straw came in May 1804, when Napoleon had also crowned himself King of Italy in Milan.
Yep.
Austria,
we
Russia,
see this as well.
Sweden and Naples joined Britain in an alliance known as the Third Coalition, and devised an ambitious plan for a series of joint offensives against France.
And at first it seemed like this was, it was unprecedented, I think, for this kind of alliance, and it seemed all but certain. And we see our characters in War and Peace, having debates about how serious this is, with this massive alliance and all this money coming from Great Britain. How serious is this threat from, from Napoleon and from France? And, should we leave? Shouldn't we leave? That's a major part of the story in War and Peace, is the people that go and the people that stay and what happens.
The main attack would be made by a combined Austro-Russian army, advancing across the Rhine into France. But Napoleon got word of their plans and reacted with typical speed and decision. He was determined to strike first, before the Allies could join forces, and ordered his army, now renamed La Grande Armée, to march to the River Rhine.
Oh, sorry, I'm in the way.
His target was the Austrian army of General Mack, which had made a premature advance against
Remember that word, General Mack.
Bavaria, a French ally, and was now dangerously isolated from the other Allied armies. Napoleon ordered Marshal Murat, his famously flamboyant cavalry commander, to make feint attacks.
Ignore that, Panda Man. Ignore that. Sorry for the interruptions. Yeah, ignore that, Panda Man. Thank you, Davey.
Napoleon ordered Marshal Murat, his famously flamboyant cavalry commander, to make feint attacks through the Black Forest, while the rest of his army, advancing at speed, enveloped Mack's army from the north. That summer, Napoleon's Grande Armée was at its most formidable. well-trained, highly motivated, its regiments at full strength. What's more, it had been newly reorganized according to the corps system, later imitated by virtually every army in the world. Each corps, commanded by a marshal, was a mini-army of 15 to 30,000 soldiers, with its own infantry, cavalry, artillery and supporting arms, such as reconnaissance, engineers and transport. This meant each...
Pretty wild to think that there was a time in warfare not that long ago. This is 1805. 1805, they finally figured out the whole army shouldn't be led by one motherfucking guy sitting in a big fancy chair 100 miles away from the battlefield.
Each corps could march and fight for a limited time.
I'm being hyperbolic.
Allowing Napoleon to break with the old doctrine of keeping his army concentrated and advance with his corps widely dispersed. This helped to disguise his real objective and increased movement speed, because the army could advance along multiple roads and live off the land, taking its supplies from scattered villages, rather than relying on slow-moving supply wagons. When the end...
And this actually comes up in War and Peace, because we see the Russians employ scorched earth tactics to deny the French supplies on their way to Moscow.
The enemy's main force was located, the army could quickly concentrate for battle. This is how Napoleon's army was able to move at a speed that often surprised and disorientated his enemies.
Unbelievable.
Mack
He's on top of you in
didn't realize
days.
the danger he was in until it was too late. Napoleon's fast-moving corps crossed the Danube behind him and surrounded his army.
Okay, here we go.
Mack launched a series of poorly coordinated counterattacks, but despite some desperate fighting, the Austrians couldn't break out of the trap. Mack hoped that Kutuzov's Russian army could arrive in time to save him, but the Russians were still 160 miles away.
Okay. So
and
this is
so,
important.
at Ulm, on the 19th of October, just 6 weeks into the war, Mack surrendered his army to Napoleon.
Okay, so this is huge. This is a huge deal. You know, so and what was important was just said here. So listen carefully.
In time to save him. Mack hoped that Kutuzov's Russian army could arrive in time to save him.
So, in the scene that I'm about to show you, Kutuzov, you know, has communications from General Mack. Oh wait, why is the resolution so shitty here? Hold on here. He has communications from General Mack and Archduke John down here, I believe, and they're both and this is and they sent that communication before Napoleon was on top of them, I believe, because they're like, yeah, we got time, we could use your help, but we need you to get here. And of course, it was far too late. Kutuzov over here saying, well, the last communication I got says, you know, it wasn't urgent. So it's really amazing. We're gonna show this amazing scene right here.
But the Russians were still.
So here's the 1,000-mile you know, view of the situation, right? We're way up in the sky. We're looking at pictures and arrows here. Now let's zoom all the way in to the single individuals that are most important in this conflict, and let's see what it might have been like, you know, to have this situation happen around you, you know, with the most important people in the room actually, you know, you were actually there, right? You're a fly on the wall. So I just wanted to show this really quick because I thought it was so cool, the connection. So let's go ahead and watch this. It's about a 10-minute scene from an episode from a couple weeks ago.
No, not those. General Kutuzov wants only those papers relating to the condition of the troops that have just arrived. Yes, those. And the letters we received from Archduke Ferdinand and General Mack.
Yeah, so Ferdinand and Mack there.
But General,
the last communications.
The troops are in no condition to move forward. Well, you saw for yourself the condition they were in. They've marched over 1,000 miles.
I understand that, Your Excellency. What concerns me is exactly when they will be in the right condition.
All I can say is, if the matter depended on my personal wishes, we should have linked up with the Austrian army long ago. Now, Bolkonsky brought the papers.
Okay, and yeah, Clutch Cargo, I saw that. I don't know about Joaquin Phoenix as the lead, but we'll see. Yeah, so this guy has newer information, right? He you know, the communications have been there probably a couple days at least. This guy, you know, has a more current, more updated view of the battlefield, and he's kind of begging Volkovsky here. I think I'm saying it correctly. He's basically begging him to please, you know, get your troops over there. And he's like, well, I mean, they already marched 1,000 miles and they need to rest. So he's like, okay, how many days, man? None of these people realize in the room is that Napoleon has already won. The entire army is actually already defeated while they're discussing this right now.
Now, these will give you some idea of the state of the Russian army and its equipment.
Yes, I understand. But I am here to urge you to make every effort to link up with our forces.
Oh, my dear fellow, every effort is being made. For my part, I assure you it would be a relief to hand over responsibility to one of your Austrian commanders. They're so much better at this kind of thing than we are.
Already defeated.
Still, the delay robs you of the opportunity of winning the laurels Russian troops are accustomed to.
Well, I agree with you, but what can we do? For the moment, we must leave the laurels to your Archduke Ferdinand and General Mack. The Archduke is doing so well, I feel sure he has no desperate need of us at the moment.
We cannot be certain of that.
Bolkonsky, let me have the Archduke's last letter.
This is what made Napoleon so different.
He says there what I have just this minute been telling you.
Yes, of course. Still, General Mack faces Bonaparte himself at Ulm, and it cannot be denied he is in urgent need of support.
Naturally. And who would deny it? I would quarrel only with your use of the term urgent.
But that is my information.
Bolkonsky, let me have General Mack's last letter. I feel sure you have nothing later than this.
Who knows how many days before that was sent?
We are masters of Ulm and cannot be deprived of the advantage of commanding both banks of the Danube. We wait confidently, therefore, until the Imperial Russian army is ready to join us.
So, I mean, so he either sent that before you know, Napoleon went in and started ripping him up, or he sent that after the fact because he was too embarrassed that he was getting his ass literally handed to him.
Oh, it doesn't sound like a very urgent request, General.
In war,
that
one
was
may
cool,
prepare
Davey.
for
Thank
the
you.
worst.
And that is what we are doing, preparing for the worst. I'll have Bolkonsky draw up a memorandum of all the intelligence we have gathered regarding the movements of the Austrian and French armies.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
General Kutuzov wants all the information collected in the last week from our scouts. Let us have 3 copies.
Commander-in-Chief, Kutuzov.
Whom shall I announce?
So he doesn't want to create a scene. This is a little stupid. I don't know if this is in the book, if this is just like accurate to the book or not, but
Whom shall I announce?
he's like, I don't want to say who you should announce. So he writes it down. But then fucking 30 seconds later, see what he has to say. He's not looking too good, is he?
You see before you the unfortunate General Mack.
Okay, then why'd you write your fucking name down on a piece of paper, jackass? Anyway. This is General Mack.
The whole army.
The whole army.
All of it.
There was nothing else to do. We were boxed in.
That's Napoleon's great speed. And the Grande Armée having independence with its different corps. And then this is the best right here. Watch this.
Well, it serves them right. They're always so cocky, these Austrians. It'll teach them a lesson.
Teach them a lesson.
You don't know what this means. Half the campaign has been lost already. An Allied army has been destroyed, and the road to Vienna is wide open. Is that something to snigger at? Pack your things, get ready to move, all of you. The whole army will be withdrawing by sunset.
Yeah. So that's the reality. That's the reality of the situation. The entire army gone. Napoleon's got a fucking beeline straight to Vienna. But it's, once Vienna's done, it's on to Russia, and that's exactly what happens. And this is the first big battle with Russia is in Austerlitz. Okay. Evan the Gracious One, just a quick warning, buddy. We don't do nationalism, in this channel. This is the News Underground, and we believe all nations are equally shitty and equally awesome. We don't think any one nation is greater than the other. At least I don't, and I don't accept that kind of naked nationalism in my chat. Also, motherfuck nihilism. What are you looking for, a pat on the back? Oh, I want to be a nihilist. Then go to a motherfucking streamer that wants to agree with that shit. This is abandoned nihilism, where we try to create something from nothing, not look for cookies and pats on the back for being a cynic, for giving up. So I don't know what you're looking for, letting everyone know that you prefer nihilism over anti-nihilism, but I don't give a shit. Back to the history lesson, then we're going to get to our episode.
160 miles away. And so, at Ulm, on the 19th of October, just 6 weeks into the war, Mack surrendered his army to Napoleon.
We'll see if he's a chud.
The French took nearly 60,000 Austrian prisoners, and Napoleon had struck his first devastating blow against the coalition. Russian General Mikhail Kutuzov was an experienced and wary commander.
An interesting
more
likeness.
Cautious than Mack. His army was exhausted after its 900-mile march from Russia, but hearing of the Austrians' surrender at Ulm, and knowing he wasn't strong enough to face Napoleon alone, he immediately ordered a retreat. Napoleon pursued. The Russians fought several sharp rearguard actions, but could not save the Austrian capital, Vienna, which the French occupied on the 12th of October.
What I was saying is that Kutuzov here is he brings this up in the episode. That's the number one thing you learn as a general, is to not try to fight a battle while you're retreating, and he has no choice but to do it.
Kutuzov slipped away to Olmütz in today's Czech Republic, where he was joined by reinforcements, as well as Emperor Alexander of Russia and Emperor Francis of Austria in person. Napoleon was furious that Kutuzov had escaped. By now his army was also exhausted and far from home, with winter approaching. He needed to force a decisive battle quickly. Fortunately for him, the overconfident 27-year-old Russian emperor sought the glory of battle, overriding the concerns of his veteran commander, General Kutuzov.
And once again in the episode, we see this. We see Kutuzov complaining, well, basically saying, well, this is what our prince says. I totally disagree. We shouldn't be doing this at all. We're gonna do this anyway. Here we go. So you're gonna see that meeting in this episode coming up as well.
With the Allied army closing in, Napoleon ordered his corps to rapidly concentrate on a battlefield he had carefully selected. near the town of Austerlitz. Napoleon oversaw the dispositions of his army late into the night, then grabbed a few hours' sleep beside a campfire.
This guy's pretty
Dawn would mark
cool
the first anniversary
sometimes.
of his coronation as emperor.
I get
Promised a
fans of
battle
Napoleon
that would make
now.
or break his young empire.
Yeah, I get fans of Napoleon now. This guy was kind of fucking awesome sometimes. He was an absolute tyrant, but he was damn good at what he was good at, you
The
know?
morning of the 2nd of December 1805 was cold and bright with a heavy mist. Two armies of near equal size faced each other across a 7-mile wide battlefield.
Yeah, and the Allies had high
But
ground.
the Allies held the high ground of the Pratzen Heights, while French Third Corps under Marshal Davout was still marching to the battlefield. Seeing Napoleon's thinly stretched right flank, the Allies planned a large-scale attack from the Pratzen Heights to steamroller the French right, before swinging round to envelop Napoleon's army.
Yep, and we see them formulate this plan in
Little
this
did
episode
they
coming
know,
up.
Napoleon was counting on his weak right wing luring the Allies into just such a move, whereupon he would launch his own attack on the Pratzen Heights to cut the Allied army in half. His bold plan relied on his correct prediction of Allied movements, the speedy arrival of Davout's Third Corps on his right, and a perfectly timed counterattack. The battle began around 7 a.m. as Austrian troops of General Keimer's
Respectable.
advance guard clashed with French troops defending the village of Telnitz.
So we see Andre fighting in this
In the face
castle.
of overwhelming odds, the French fought stubbornly and bravely, but gradually they were forced back. But the Allies, instead of carrying out their great enveloping attack, did nothing.
See this
The morning
castle right
mist
here?
and the late arrival of
Oh, you
orders
can't see my mouse cursor.
had led
There's
to
a castle.
confusion and delay, and it was another hour before the first 3 Allied columns were on the move. Soon, fierce fighting erupted around Sokolnitz village and castle. Marshal Davout's corps, which had just force-marched 70 miles in 2 days, now
Jeez.
arrived to strengthen the French right wing. Around 9 a.m., his lead infantry brigade appeared suddenly through the mist and retook Telnitz, before being driven back in turn by Austrian hussars. Two
We see
more
him.
of Davout's brigades reinforced French troops at Sokolnitz. As the mist began to clear, Napoleon saw that, as he'd hoped, the Allied left was moving off the Pratzen Heights, and he ordered Marshal Soult's 4th Corps to begin its attack. To the alarm of Allied commanders, 2 French infantry divisions, until now hidden by the mist, were suddenly seen advancing straight towards the Allied center.
And there's a scene that covers this exact
General
push
Kutuzov
right here.
was forced
They got
to
a whole
hurriedly
scene for it.
organize a defense of the heights, using troops of 4 column. 2 hours of bloody fighting followed. Musket fire was so rapid and furious that both sides were soon low on ammunition and turned to the bayonet.
Yup. You betcha.
By 11 a.m., the French, with the advantage in training and discipline, had secured the heights and driven a deep wedge into the Allied position. To the north, a giant cavalry battle developed. While a Russian force from General Bagration's advance guard captured the village of Bosenitz before it was halted by cannon fire from the Santon Hill. A decisive charge by 6 regiments of French heavy cavalry finally drove back the Allies, allowing Marshal Lannes' 5 Corps to move forward and seize Blasowitz and Krug. Now, Grand Duke Constantine, commanding the Russian Imperial Guard, led forward this last Allied reserve in a desperate bid to reclaim the Pratzen Heights.
I think we see this in this episode.
A battalion of the French 4th Line Regiment was charged down by Russian Guard cavalry, losing its Eagle standard in bloody fighting.
Pretty big deal.
Napoleon, who'd moved up to the heights, sent in his own Guard cavalry. In this grim melee between the elite horsemen of both armies, the French finally prevailed.
Yeah, only a matter of time.
Napoleon had broken the Allied centre. Now, to close the trap on the Allied left wing, still locked in heavy fighting around Sokolnitz.
Oh, it's over.
Around
It's
2
over.
p.m., Napoleon ordered 4 divisions to swing south and cut off their retreat.
Total defeat.
General
Total
Buxhouden,
unbelievable.
commanding the Allied left, only now saw the danger he was in.
Over.
Attacked from 3 sides, the only escape was south.
Over the ice.
Many of his troops were forced to flee across frozen ponds. French artillery opened fire, trying to smash the ice with their cannonballs. About 200 men and dozens of horses drowned in the freezing water. But not the many thousands of Napoleon's propaganda.
Yeah, he said there's thousands of them, only a couple hundred. But imagine how horrific. You're running on the ice
The
and
French
cannonballs
Emperor
are
had won a
exploding
brilliant
around you.
victory. His army had taken more than 10,000 prisoners and captured 45 enemy standards.
Huge. Huge.
Thousands of dead and wounded of all sides littered the battlefield. Many
Look at that.
left untended for days.
Look at that Allied dead versus the French dead.
The Battle of the Three Emperors. As
Oh,
it
I don't know if you could see that because of the chat there. 1 second, let me just help you out. But yeah, if you could just see the comparison right there. Just think about, those are corpses on the battlefield, folks. That's what that battlefield looked like after this massacre, happened. It's absolutely huge.
The Battle of the Three Emperors, as it became known, was a crushing blow to the Third Coalition. As Russian forces retreated back to Russia, Francis I of Austria was forced to accept a humiliating settlement with France, agreeing to pay a 40 million franc indemnity and give up more territory in exchange for peace. But meanwhile,
Napoleon
news
got
had
everything
reached
he wanted.
Napoleon of a disastrous Franco-Spanish defeat at sea off Cape Trafalgar. British Admiral Lord Nelson, at the cost of his own life, had masterminded a victory so complete that it ensured British naval dominance not just for the rest of the war, but for the next 100 years.
And that's really interesting. I'm going to need to look into the Battle of Trafalgar. I had no
master of
idea it
the
was
sea.
that important.
Napoleon, unbeatable on land. The whale and the elephant, neither able to challenge the other in its own domain. When William Pitt received news of Napoleon's victory at Austerlitz, he's supposed to have said, "Roll up that map of Europe. It will not be wanted these 10 years."
Everything changes.
A month
Napoleon
later,
changed
Pitt
everything.
was dead. But his warning that Europe faced another 10 years of war and upheaval was to prove prophetic.
Yep. So there you go,
Napoleon
folks.
Bonaparte was the
So there you go, folks. That sets the stage for this episode of War and Fucking Peace. Woo! We're doing it, baby. Yeah, give me that theme song. Give me that. Yeah. So that sets the stage for War and Peace, Austerlitz. We got the 100-mile view. Now we're going to get the individual view. Best channel on Twitch, I dare you to find better content. It ain't happening. War and Peace, folks. Leo Tolstoy. I wrote this. I did this. This is me. I made this. I did this. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy it. I know I do. I love this. This is amazing. Strap in. I don't think there's a ballroom to be seen in this episode.
General Savary to see you, sire.
May I show him in?
Sir.
This is a bit of a baller move, too. He gets him in there and finishes his letter before addressing him. That's what I'm saying, EOD. Hassan ain't got nothing on this.
What are conditions like?
Mud. Everywhere, sire.
Mud follows the army like a fox.
I'm not quite sure what he said there. Let's see.
The army like a fox. Mud follows the army like a fox.
Nope, I have no idea.
The troops in good spirits?
Excellent. Gives them great heart to have you so close.
I have an errand for you. The Emperor Alexander has arrived at Kutuzov's camp at Olmutz.
The Austrian emperor's there too.
Yes, but since he's lost his capital, he's largely decoration. I want you to take this letter to the Emperor Alexander. Tell him, having heard of his arrival at his army, I have sent you to salute him in my name.
Plus an army of 73,000 French soldiers.
And that's not the point.
So what he's doing here is this was Napoleon's MO, and another thing he completely flipped the script on. Instead of treating the leaders of these countries that he's conquering with like disrespect, he would actually treat them with the full respect that they would expect as royals. And this is also where Napoleon's greatest failure. This is like foreshadowing on Napoleon's greatest failure, because he thought, once I get Moscow, it's over. Once I get Moscow, this fancy pants 20-year-old, Alexander is going to send me, terms of surrender. So this is what all this is about, right? Yeah. Okay. No problem, Evan. I thought you were a nice guy, man. I'm sorry you wanted it to go down that way. No problem, buddy.
I like to pay these courtesies. I want him to see that I bear him no grudge, despite the fact that he takes part in a war against me that is no concern of his.
Shall I make that point?
I've made it in the letter. You may add to it. You can say, you've heard me complain quietly to my closest advisors how his presence here beside the Austrian emperor wounds and bewilders me.
Yeah, so he's
Yes,
trying to
sir.
sweet talk him.
It is no less than the truth.
He's trying to sweet talk him.
Stay as long as you can without seeming to spy.
Because
If
he's
I
like,
return without having at least one Russian dinner, you may count me as no more than a messenger.
We might make you one then.
You want to know how they view us, how the Russians get on with the Austrians, and whether Kutuzov is confident or wary.
Kutuzov will always be wary. It's simply a matter of how far his view will prevail. I leave it to you. You know the sort of thing I like to know before a battle.
Yes, sir.
Good. Then ask my secretary to come in.
yeah. So Napoleon would sweeten the deal, right? Because he would say, look, you can keep your national identity. We're going to change a few things here and there, but you still get to run Russia, right? You still get to, but you do it, under my, under me now. But, Russia stays Russia, and, not going to take away your vodka, all that kind of stuff. So this is the charm offensive that Napoleon would do. It's really quite manipulative, right? Because he's trying to just say, just take it, baby. It's okay. You want to be conquered by me. Do not clip that. I'm in big trouble. You can hear the rain on the tent.
Near Elchingen, November the 25th, 1805, 6:30 in the morning. Soldiers of the Grand Army, we have won one campaign. You have expelled the troops of the House of Austria from Bavaria. Half that army has been annihilated. You owe this success your unbounded confidence in your emperor, your supporting fatigues and privations, and your unique bravery. Now the remnants of the Austrian army have been joined by a Russian army, which the gold of England has transported from the extremities of the universe.
Burn.
They will undergo the same fate. I promise you.
Burn.
In the second campaign, we shall be victorious with the least possible shedding of blood. My soldiers are my children.
My soldiers are my children.
See that is posted for all regiments by noon.
Yes, sir.
He was saying these soldiers were pulled from the extremities of the universe, right? Just like these, you know, vagabonds and rogues pulled from nowhere, right? Not the professionally trained Grand Armée. I love how he said, you know, I'm not getting rid of the belly. We're gonna make the belly work. Can we make the belly work? No one tries to make the belly work anymore, right? He's like, nah, we're making the belly work on this one. Sorry, and I'm sorry about the resolution, folks, but you know, it's about as good as it gets, unfortunately.
Where are you off to?
Olmutz, to see my cousin Boris. He's in the guards and they've just come up.
Oh, you've got a cousin in the guards. You won't want to know about us then.
I'm not so sure he'll want to know me. He's got a letter for me. Oh, and some money from home.
Oh, that's different. Make haste then, old boy. We're celebrating tonight, my promotion.
He'll probably want to celebrate himself when he sees me. I'll be as quick as I can.
You're such a popular chap, Wosthoff. You're very difficult to live with.
Oh, rubbish.
Oh, you! I'm gonna go die in a war.
I'm trying to save you some wine, but you know what the cavalry's like.
Shut up! How's my feathers? Is my fez looking good? What are these chess pieces?
Well, let's see you get out of that.
Yeah, old man.
We shall try to.
Riveting. Riveting. I'm sorry, is this not Fast and the Furious for you?
Lieutenant de Bretskoy! Boris!
Nikolai!
Petits enfants, allez coucher dormir.
Well, I wasn't expecting you today.
We don't waste time in the hussars.
How are
Huzzah!
you? Fine. How you've changed.
And you,
Huzzah!
my goodness, how smart you are. Berg, you here too?
Hello, Count. What's all this petits enfants?
The Russian nurse we used to have. Mama tried to teach her French, but that's all she ever managed.
I'm amazed. I only sent that note off to you yesterday.
That's the army post for you, swift as a bird.
Mind you, I did send it through Bolkonsky, an adjutant of Kutuzov's. He's a friend of mine.
Well, there you are. That's what comes of having powerful friends.
Must be, what, 6 months, nearly? God, you look like a soldier.
And you look as cool and trim as if you'd just come in from a stroll.
I love chicken
How was
nuggets.
the march?
I'm not shy.
Oh, wonderful. The Tsar came with us, so we had everything. Dinners, balls, receptions, I can't tell you.
Oh, you danders, not like us poor devils in the line. Well, what about some wine, hmm?
Yes, if you really want some. Here, there you are. Berg, be a good chap. Get a bottle up from the store.
All right.
No, I insist.
Let me, you're a guest.
But exactly, I'd have bought some myself if I had the money. Now I've got it. Here, Berg. Take this, there's a good fellow, huh? Bring us 2.
No one's gonna take my money in
Right,
this
they sent you a tidy sum, didn't they?
incredibly easy to steal box.
Hold on a minute.
I locked it.
You've really changed, honestly.
Well,
I guess
so
you
do.
gotta keep it somewhere.
What's in this damn thing? Don't catch cold, wear your vest at all times, and don't rush into things, I suppose. Oh, what a brew time. I should have written home more often. They all send you their love, especially Natasha.
Oh, that's all, you know,
Found someone else, have you?
What? No, no. But you know, Nicky, when you're young...
Yes, of course. Trouble is, back home, they think everything remains the same. What's this damn thing?
Poor Natasha. She goes through it in this book.
Oh, no.
What is it?
Isn't that just a note of recommendation to General Bagration? What am I supposed to do with this?
What? Use it.
What nonsense. That's Mama for you.
Okay, so...
God knows how much trouble she went to get it.
Now, look, that can be useful to you.
Okay, so this is his mother, and we saw this in a previous episode. I won't show the clip, but we saw this. His mother pulled out all the stops, you know, went to all the fancy parties, talked to a guy that was connected, and has gotten him in a position that gets him off the front line, gets him, you know, puts him in a position that keeps him, you know, out of the battle, which is what a mother would do, right? And he's like, well, God damn it, you know, because he, you know, he's a huzzah and he wants to have the glory of battle. So now he's like, all right, great. Now I got my mom, you know, sticking her nose in my business, pulling me out of it. What he doesn't know is that, you know, that was, you know, probably a very good idea for him to follow his mother's advice.
What for? To get some adjutant's job at Staff HQ?
Well, you could do worse.
Rubbish. I'm nobody's lackey.
Still the same old idealist.
You're still the same old diplomat.
Yes. Well, I had a good training.
Where?
Living in your house. Oh, I didn't mean that unkindly, Nicky. Your family have been wonderful to me, to my mother. But well, when you're the poor relation, no matter how kind people
Yes,
are...
of course, of course. What a thing to be talking about. Well, tell me, how are you?
Just as you see. Everything's turning out really quite well.
These
Although I
men are
confess I wouldn't
dashing.
mind being made an adjutant.
But why? It's so dull.
Oh. Oh, no. No, I think if you are going to go in for a military career, you should try to make it as brilliant as you can.
I hope it comes off.
Yes, well, I think it may. Prince Bolkonsky, he got a note to you. He's taken an interest in me, and he's trying to arrange a meeting with General Dolgorukov.
Wonderful! You'll be an adjutant general, yet I can see it. Aha, here's Berg.
2 bottles.
Bravo, Berg.
So I think that's just, you know, a guy that helps the general,
glasses.
you know, all way back at HQ.
That's it. Well, fancy the Tsar traveling with your lot.
I must say it was very fortunate. We just had the best of everything.
Listen, I hear you were wounded.
Oh, it was nothing. Slight scratch, that's all.
Did it leave a scar?
Yes, but it doesn't show. Yeah. Well, cheers. To us and to the Tsar.
To the Tsar.
The Tsar.
Fuck the Tsar.
So you were really in battle?
Well, of course. Someone does actually get into the front line, you know. No, we were stationed on the edge of a wood against the French right. There was a good chance of them breaking through there, and the moment they did, we had to charge.
And they did?
Yes. Within a couple of hours, they made their move. I was beginning to think they'd never come. But Denisov said they would. He's a wonderful chap, commands our squadron, absolutely fearless.
What happened?
We saw them coming towards us. Line upon line of blue-coated soldiers.
Look about kissing
At first, I
Gonzo.
didn't know what they were. Cattle or something.
Kiss my cock.
After all, you never really expect to see the enemy. Anyway, Denisov waited till they were strung out, easy to handle, gave the order, and off we went.
But what actually did you do?
We just bore down on them, cutting right and left with our sabres. Of course, we scattered the infantry. But what we didn't know was that there was a regiment of artillery behind them.
My God, what did you do?
We just charged the guns and broke up the whole emplacement. Oh, I can't tell you what it's like to be in a charge.
Prince Bolkonsky. Let me introduce my cousin, Count Rostov.
How do you do? You were talking at the fair at Schöngraben.
Yes.
You were there?
I was.
Please go on. One hears so few stories from people who actually took part. And that's because they're usually the most reticent, I suppose. When you've done the thing, you rarely feel the need to talk about it. Don't you agree? You were saying what it was like to be in a charge.
I'd finished.
Oh. I had the impression there was still a great deal to tell. I've heard so many stories.
If you're a little confused at what's going on, I guess it's considered uncouth to I don't know, talk with such exuberance about, you know, battlefields. Probably because of all the dead people. That's probably why.
Stories from people who weren't there. I'd have been delighted to hear one from someone who was.
I dare say. Our stories carry some weight. They're not the tales of little staff upstarts who get decorations for doing nothing.
In which group you include me?
I don't know you, and frankly, I don't wish to. I'm talking about staff officers in general.
Huzzah.
You seem bent on insulting me. However, since we're all likely tomorrow to be involved in a much more serious duel, I won't allow myself to be provoked. And if you have any sense, neither will you. I'm sorry, Drobetskoy. Your friend seems to have taken a dislike to me. However, that's his affair. I just came in to say that I'll see you on Friday after the review. I managed to arrange an interview with Dolgorukov.
No duel.
Oh, thank you. There was no need to
I
be
can't
so
stand that kind of
incredibly-
pompous idiot. I'm sorry, Boris. I better be going.
It's
goodbye.
It's
Thank
pretty
you for the
awesome.
letter and for the money.
Oh, that's all right. I'm sorry.
Goodbye, Boris. Goodbye, Count.
Huzzah. Yeah, Clutch Cargo, I mean, seems, you know, I'm not an expert or anything, but that's why I wanted to show that documentary, because it seemed like this is pretty, you know, true to life. Seemed like that. I'm glad. And there's so many parallels, you know. I could have gone on for like another hour.
How did the Tsar Jean look? In good health?
Pale and drawn, I thought, as though he had not been sleeping well.
Ah. Commander who doesn't sleep well doesn't fight well.
He's not as used as Your Majesty to living in the field.
Why should he be? It's my profession, not his. His is to be a figurehead. I must say he does it very well.
You're more than generous to your enemies, sire.
Don't regard him as my enemy. The English, they're my enemies. They won't rest till they've destroyed me.
He's thinking bigger.
Or I've destroyed them.
He's thinking much bigger picture. I need all these people.
Was a bitter blow.
Can't be everywhere. Villeneuve was a fool. Their enemies.
I think he said Trafalgar here. Hold on.
They won't rest till they've destroyed me. Or I've destroyed them.
Trafalgar was a bitter blow.
Yeah. You know, and I'm curious. It seems to me like, you know, France wasn't that great at fighting, you know, at the Navy, but maybe that's because Napoleon was so goddamn busy. You know, did Napoleon ever like truly command like a naval battalion?
Can't be everywhere. Villeneuve was a fool. He had to prove himself against the British fleet because I'd criticized him for inaction off Cape Finisterre. I never told him to take on Nelson.
You didn't know he was in command.
But he should have done. No excuse for faulty intelligence. However, a battle lost is a battle lost. We have one to win here. And win by a few brilliant strokes.
Oh, that's cool, Clutch Cargo. Damn.
What was your impression of the mood of the Russian camp?
We're very confident. They think you've advanced too far.
Well, any fool can see that. What are they going to do? Attack or wait and see? What's in the air there?
There's an enormous number of young Russians there. The Tsar brought them with him. They talk wildly about the ambition of France and how it is their duty to stop it. The atmosphere is charged with excitement.
I see. The Tsar is sending Dolgorukov to see me.
To repay the compliment you paid him by sending me. He will doubtless also talk peace terms, but really to keep his eyes and ears open.
Well, we might fill those eyes and ears with the right impressions, or the wrong ones.
Of course.
The biggest problem is the Russians are encamped on the Pratzen Heights. If we must attack them, we must.
That's the high ground.
If we could just draw them down.
We saw on the map.
Well, if they gained the impression, for instance, that we were weaker than they supposed, or that we were trying to avoid an engagement.
Well, that could be arranged. What will you say to Dolgorukov?
Very little. I shall listen. Listen with a humility that you would hardly expect from the Emperor of France.
Yeah. So I think we just briefly heard him start the germination of the idea of intentionally of making the right flank look intentionally weak. 1 second.
Cough.
Those the right impressions, or the wrong ones.
Of
Yeah,
course.
right impression of the wrong ones.
The biggest problem is the Russians are encamped on the Pratzen Heights.
High
If we
ground.
must attack them, we must. If we could just draw them down.
How?
If we could just draw them down. So there we go. That's him starting the formulation of the idea of making it look like that right front is weak, knowing he's got backup on the way and he wants to draw them down over to that direction anyway.
Well, if they gained the impression, for instance, that we were weaker than they supposed or that we were trying to avoid an engagement.
There you go.
Well, that could be arranged. What will you say to Dolgorukov?
Very little. I shall listen. Listen with a humility that you would hardly expect from the Emperor of France.
It's so funny.
These Austrian wines. Something arrived from Paris recently.
I'll inquire, sir.
Guernsey Marshal Soult. He's very abstemious, but draws as big a ration as the rest of us. God knows what he does with it.
Your health, sir.
Thank you, Severin.
He's like, these Austrian wines.
Where did you get him?
Down by the river, sir.
Dragoons, eh? And what were you doing down by the river?
The corporal, monsieur. Sent us to get food for the horses.
A patrol, sir, about 30 of them. Feeling us out, that's all. Turned tail and ran the moment they saw us.
Right, you had a fine-looking horse. What are you going to do with it?
Sell it.
Please, monsieur, you will not hurt my horse.
Oh, we shan't hurt him, my man. What do you think we are? But you've no more use for a horse. How much do you want for it?
2 gold pieces, sir. I think that's fair.
Damn, I haven't got enough. What about you, Ostov? Do you want to buy him?
Monsieur, what will happen to my horse?
Do be quiet, old boy. He'll be perfectly safe with us.
No.
Yes, I'll take him. Put him with the rest.
Thank you, sir.
That horse is going to join a cavalry and turn into a fucking pile of meat.
Funny how they don't look so fierce when you get up close to them. The French, I mean.
He seemed more concerned about his horse.
Yeah. I rather approve of that. Can't be much wrong with the chap who thinks more of his horse than he does of himself. Twig? You seem a bit down in the mouth, old friend. Anything wrong?
No.
What's wrong, Thwen?
You seem to be brooding over something.
You're brooding.
Oh, it's nothing. You know, I went over to see my cousin a couple of days ago. I thought it was going to be a lot of fun, and it turned out to be awful.
Oh.
Nearly always is with one's relations.
Just one guy, dude.
He's so damn spruce and ambitious.
Well, he's in the Guards.
I know. But then they started to ask me about the charge at Schöngraben. And, well, I embroidered a bit and felt disgusted with myself afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
Don't worry, old chap.
He's
We
ashamed
all
of
do
himself.
it.
But, you know, he earned it.
Really?
You were there.
You too, Denisov?
All the time, dear boy.
I mean, you survived
I'm the biggest
it?
liar in the camp. Everyone knows.
I don't know. I feel
What's
like
that?
if you were there, you can talk about it, right? You know, like be excited, like yeah, I kicked some ass, you know, blah blah blah, you know. Especially if you were injured. Oh, get your fez on straight. Oh my God, that feather.
What regiment is this?
We're a squadron of the Pavlograd Hussars, sire.
Was it the squadron who charged the French at Schöngraben?
Yes, sire.
Were there many casualties?
About a third killed and wounded, sire, but they've now been replaced.
What a terrible thing is war.
What would you know, bitch?
God bless you all.
Oh, God, I couldn't
No one is to fall in love with the Tsar.
Oh, don't joke, Denisov. If we fought at Schöngraben, what won't we do here?
I agree, my friend, I agree, but I hear we to be reserved, so you may not get a chance.
Oh, no!
You see why I shit on nationalism? I would die for him, right? This is not, that is not the language of a free man.
There's no question. Bonaparte has made a bad mistake. He's come too far, and he knows it. I saw evidence everywhere in the French camp of hurried defensive preparation.
It confirms my impression that he would rather avoid an engagement.
Okay, so we didn't see it, but this is the guy that Napoleon was talking about, that he was going to sweet talk and he was going to give a false impression to. So this is him giving that report to his superior. So one more time, we'll start from the beginning because it's a little disorienting. You're not sure who the fuck is this guy. So this is the dude that Napoleon, kind of sweet talked, right? I'm going to treat him with respect that he wouldn't expect from an emperor because he's like lower than him, right? But anyway, so let's see how well Napoleon tricked this guy.
There's no question. Bonaparte has made a bad mistake. He's come too far, and he knows it. I saw evidence everywhere in the French camp of hurried defensive preparation.
It confirms my impression that he would rather avoid an engagement.
I'm certain of it. And mind you, this man is subtle. A combination of French finesse and Italian play acting. He received me with a courtesy which could only be false, stemming from a situation of great uncertainty.
Right, so that was the impression, and that's what we saw on the map. He kept a big bulk of his troops way behind. It was foggy, and they couldn't see the total amount of troops that were there. And Napoleon held them back while the Allies there had the high ground. Once the battle heated up on the right side flank, that was the weakest. In appearance was the weakest. Troops started getting diverted from down the hill, and that's when Napoleon attacks, right? So this is all setting up. This is how it happens. And this guy, of course, gets to tell his superiors what they want to hear, which is Napoleon's not ready. He doesn't want to fight. He's undersupplied. His troops aren't ready, and there's not a lot of them, right? So it's amazing to see all of this happen. And then, the decisions that are made because of this information and how terrible it all goes down. Just a complete shit show.
Bolkonsky. Is His Excellency ready to begin?
General Kutuzov is just coming out.
Excellent. I was just describing what happened when the Emperor of the French,
right,
as
Clutch?
he chooses to call himself, received me in his quarters yesterday.
What is he like, really?
A man in a grey coat, anxious to be called Your Majesty. But he got no title from me.
What did he say to you?
It was more a question of what I had to say to him.
He was
I
a
told
tyrant.
him for a start, but the price of negotiation would be his giving up Italy. I expected a tirade. He merely nodded thoughtfully.
It confirms my impression. His position is insecure. Despite my deep respect for Kutuzov, we should be fools to wait about and let him escape. We must attack.
But in what position are we to attack him? I toured the outpost today, and there's no making out where his main forces are concentrated.
In my opinion, he is undecided what to do. He has crossed the Danube and plunged recklessly into Moravia without securing his lines of communication. He obtained a cheap success at Ulm with Mack, but he knows now he is up against it.
Exactly.
No.
And we will make Kutuzov see that.
Did you convey all this to His Majesty?
Have his complete
Like
support.
a fiddle.
It is a good thing he is young. We need a young man at the helm.
No, you don't, dude. You want Kutuzov in there, bro. Nope. That's what getting played like a fiddle looks like. Oh, man. And Kutuzov knows it, but he's not the Tsar. He's not
Well,
Prince Alexander.
Are we all here?
Prince Bagration is unable to attend, Your Excellency.
Well, if Bagration is not coming, let us begin. Perhaps I should start by saying I had an interview with His Majesty a few hours ago. He informs me that everyone he has spoken to tells him the time is right for an attack. My own feeling is quite contrary to that. In my opinion, we should wait and see what happens.
We know what will happen. The French will withdraw.
Wrong.
I wouldn't necessarily regard that as a disaster. However, before every battle, a great deal of discussion must take place. In my experience, such discussion achieves very little because once a battle starts, one usually has very little choice. Still, it seems we all feel better because of it. So let us have it and get it over.
Perhaps I should make a brief introduction and then hand over to General Vierwater, who has worked out a most meticulous plan covering every eventuality with a precision which has excited all our admiration. But first, I must say that in our opinion, Bonaparte fears nothing so much now as a combined attack. His lines of communication are long, his position precarious. He exists in a hostile environment. We outnumber him. And it is the opinion of all of us here
it's actually
that
wrong
it would
as
be
well.
criminal folly not to take this opportunity to deliver a once-for-all lesson to this Corsican upstart.
Nice speech, bud. Good one, bro.
First, I want to say that I agree with every word uttered by Prince Dolgorukov. It is my belief that a combination of Austrian precision and Russian valor will carry the day at Austerlitz. All the advantages are on our side. Our immense forces are beyond the French right. I will come back to the important significance of this in a moment. Our armies are inspired by the presence of our emperors Alexander and Francis. They are eager for action.
I believe you can even see this is the high ground right here, and he was pointing over here, which is almost lines up perfectly. If this is correct, if this is that high ground that was showing, lines up almost perfectly with what we saw on the map previously. So such a cool detail.
The strategic position on which the battle must be fought is known in the minutest detail to me. Since last year, we carried out maneuvers in this very locality. I will now read the dispositions for the impending battle.
What the fuck was that? Hold on. Well, no. Oh, he's sleeping. Okay. I was wondering what the fuck he was looking at.
Maneuvers in this very locality. I will now read the dispositions for the
Boing.
impending battle.
So he's checked out. I mean, you know, he knows what the right decision is. He knows this is wrong. He doesn't need to hear this. He knows how this is going to play out. You know, he's the portrait of this man in this show. Hopefully, this is a reflective of the book as well. Is one of a very, very cautious man who is, he's been doing this for far too long. He wants to stop. But he's too useful to not be part of all these different conflicts. But he's kind of he's seen this before, where leadership chooses glory over sound tactics, and he can't be bothered, man. He's an old ass man. He's like he knows it's like it's already over. It's already over in his head, right? Such a fascinating character, this Kutuzov in War and Peace. I don't know if it's accurate to who he was as a real person.
Dispositions for an attack on the enemy behind Kobelnitz and Sokolnitz. Whereas the enemy's left wing rests on wooded hills and his right extends along Kobelnitz and Sokolnitz behind the ponds that are there, while we, on the other hand, with our left wing, far outflank his right, it will be to our advantage to attack
What on
this
earth is he
last
talking
named
about?
especially if we occupy the
I
villages
suppose it
of
all makes
Sokolnitz
sense to the
and
military
Kobelnitz,
mind.
whereby we can fall
But
on
it's all precision and no flair.
between Schlepanitz and the Toirasa
If one thing goes wrong, it all goes
avoiding
wrong.
the defiles of Schlepanitz and Belovitz.
And anyway, the decision to attack has already been made. So why don't they all go home?
To this end, it will be necessary to advance our left wing in columns, moving off at first light.
Suppose I'm killed tomorrow. What then? Does it matter? Tomorrow may be my chance of glory. Why do I want it so? Oh God, what am I to do if all I care for is fame? Much as I love my father, my sister, my wife, I would exchange them all tomorrow for one moment of glory. Why is that? Why? Why do I find it so hard to love someone? Truly and deeply love them. Why? Why? Why?
Thus creating a reserve attack in support of the second.
Well, Marshal Ney has a habit of doing that. Having heard nothing from him for 2 weeks, I sent a messenger post-haste, demanding a full report on the situation in the Austrian Tyrol.
Yes.
I received his communique this morning. Gentlemen, you will be glad to know the weather is fine in the Austrian Tyrol and the scenery magnificent. He then treats me to a lesson in military geography, proving conclusively the impossibility of fighting a war in the Austrian Tyrol, and then adds as a proscript, oh, by the way, the Austrian army in northern Italy has ceased to exist. We await your further instructions.
You know, I think you should recall him. He never accomplishes anything but the impossible.
I must confess I miss Ney in situations like this. I have the best marshals in the world. Davout, old iron face. Lannes, steady as a rock. Who'd you know? What an eye for an opening.
And not just the military ones.
Murat. What schoolchild doesn't play at being Murat? Bernadotte. Sometimes wonder whether he's not more brilliant than I am.
Oh.
And Soult, who believes there's only one direction for an army to march. Forward. You've made your names fit to conjure with around the world, but I miss Ney. He's the man to have at your back when things are going wrong, as Murat is to have at your front when they're going right.
Then you'll have need of me tomorrow, not Ney.
True. Tomorrow, he must win, and win quickly.
The Russians will be harder to beat than the Austrians.
They have courage, but little experience. I've been over and over their dispositions, and it's become clear what they intend to do. It will come down from the Pratzen Heights, an error of monumental proportions.
But of which we shan't complain.
These last few days, the Russians have been maneuvering to extend their left wing beyond our right.
I'm doubtful. We should have let them get as far as that.
No, I wanted it. Tomorrow, the weather will be fine. It'll be a heavy mist to begin with. Davout, you'll be placed with 2 divisions of infantry at Raguerne to oppose this maneuver.
At what point?
I'll leave that to you. But in carrying out this outflanking move, the Russian left must become separated from the Russian center for a while. And they haven't fully realized how long this interval will be, but I have. The moment the time arrives, you'll attack and inform me when the attack has begun.
I better get my divisions moving tonight.
As soon as this meeting ends, Soult, you'll be in command of the center, and as soon as we have word from Davout that his thrust has begun, you'll move into the gap that will have opened between the Russian left and the Russian center and sever the one from the other. Bernadotte, you'll be in the left center with Murat and most of the French cavalry.
So there
10
it
battalions
is.
of Imperial Guard and 10 of Oudinot's divisions
Exactly as
will
we
be
saw on
reserved
the
under
map. And it always makes me wonder why movies deviate, you know? You know, like they use a different date. Why? I'm not feeling very huzzah right now, guys. I call in sick for the war.
Are you the officer of the watch?
Yes, sir.
How long have those fires been lit?
About an hour, sir. It's a French picket line.
I thought they were still there. Volkonsky rode down earlier today.
They were still there in force when I went down.
I'm sure it's a trick. I'm certain that they're pulling back, and that's just a rear guard left to deceive us.
Well, we shall know everything tomorrow.
Wrong.
In any case, they haven't moved forward yet.
Nor are they likely to. The position remains just as it was at the War Council. The army must move into position under cover of darkness and attack at first light.
6 a.m.
Volkonsky, you will convey all this to Marshal Kutuzov?
Yes, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, may I ask a favor?
What is it?
My squadron is being held in reserve tomorrow. Can I be attached to the first?
What is your name?
Count Rostov.
Ilya Rostov's son?
Yes, Your Excellency.
Very well, you may attend upon me. I'll send a note to your commanding officer.
This victory will conclude our campaign, and we can return to winter quarters, where we shall be joined by fresh troops now mobilizing in France. And then the peace I shall conclude will be one worthy of my people, of you, and of myself. Napoleon. Contact with the man in front.
Russian troops are moving down the mountainside, Your Majesty, in the direction of Sokolnitz and Schlapnitz.
In strength?
Yes, sir, about 2 divisions. It seems as if the whole of the Russian left wing is on the move.
Just as planned.
How far we got to go, do you think? We're going anyway. Infantry! You should be way over on your right! What are you doing here? Where's your commanding officer?
We're stopping. We're in a bloody hurry to get us moving. Bloody mad.
What? What division are you attached to? The 14th. My God, you should have been in the village by now. Keep moving.
I don't know what's happening here right now, to be honest with you. I don't know if he smelled something funky or I don't know what his deal was. Dang, that's a lot of extras, yo. That's that BBC money.
Why have they stopped?
The streets through the village ahead are very narrow, Your Excellency.
You have no business marching through narrow streets in sight of the enemy. You should have gone round.
The enemy's still a long way off, Your Excellency. The dispositions...
The dispositions! Kindly do as you are told!
God blew his feather off, bitch!
A long way off. How does he know where the French are?
Yeah, his focus is on the individual. The war is the backdrop, it's the setting. It's about the individual, like how one feels, why one makes a decision.
Why don't you begin, Mikhail Hilarionovich?
I was waiting, Your Majesty.
Waiting?
Not all the columns have formed up yet, sire.
We are not on the Empress Field, you know, Mikhail Hilarionovich, where the parade is not begun till all regiments are present.
That is the reason I do not begin, sire. Because we are not on parade, and not on the Empress Field. However, if it be Your Majesty's command...
So there you go. Glory over common sense. And you know, I mean, come on, man. You know, all this, so this piece of shit gets to feel like a big boy. You know? All this, right? This shit isn't worth dying for, man. That's why we got to kick him out. We can't let him have this. Trump wants this. You know, he wants this shit. Putin wants this shit, right? Almost literally. Yeah, let's do it, boys. Let's go get him, boys. We'll go kick some butt. I mean, you're gonna go kick some butt. I'm gonna go hang out back here. I get to feel like a big boy.
Give the signal.
The French! They're here!
Stop them, Ben! Stop them! Get back alive! Get back! Stop!
So they're not even close to ready for this shit. Huzzah! It's interesting. This is a proxy war funded by the British. Oh!
Go back!
Go back, Your Excellency!
It isn't safe here! You'll be taken prisoner!
You know, that's what you get for trying to make that goddamn hat work, dude. I mean, look, what are you gonna bake a cake? Wild to think that that shit used to happen, right? So they're all retreating. They're all like, run away, run away. Homeboy picks up the standard, and then they all stop running away and then go back in to die. This shit would really happen. Oh, we're going back. We're going back. We're going back, guys. We're going back, guys. Come on. Whoops. Oh, ouch. There you go. That's bravery.
How quiet. How peaceful.
That's glory. He
Quite
got it.
different from when I was running. Ah. How was it I didn't see the sky before? So lofty. So limitless. And how happy I am to have seen it at last. Yes. All is vanity. All is delusion. Except the sky. That is wide. Wide sky.
What? Looks like fun, huh?
Order the charge.
I think this is the King's Royal Guard attacking, I think. French. Yeah, they got them hats on.
You must order an attack, Your Excellency. The left is cut from the center. Don't you understand? The French have driven a wedge right through us.
I will not order an attack until I hear from Kutuzov.
But Kutuzov has not been seen these past 2 hours.
Then he must be found. Or the Emperor. Count Rostov, go and find His Excellency. Tell him we're awaiting his orders to move.
It'll be too late.
I mean, so you got homeboy with the mustache here, eager to fall into Napoleon's trap. He's begging him to take those troops off the hill and send them to that weak right flank.
Too late. Go and make all speed.
Yes, Your Excellency.
Oh, BBC, no! BBC violence. Death and destruction on BBC. Huzzah! Yeah, they got their ass kicked.
The battle is lost at all points, sire. You must leave. You must.
Rosebud. Oh, wait. Wrong movie. You know who would be great for the remake? Adam Sandler. Actually, they did one a new War and Peace just recently. The that actor who was in that Batman, he played what, Scarecrow or something. He was in it. Oh my God! Oh, there's Andre.
Dying, sire. We're doing what we can for them.
Fine young men.
Yeah, it looks like it.
All of them. Fine deaths. Their country can be proud of them. It wasn't their fault they lost the day. They died bravely on the field of Austerlitz.
You see, the BBC, I mean, they couldn't afford to make it as epic as it truly deserves, you know. So that's why I wanted to show that documentary. So you really understand the weight of this victory. So there you go, folks. So there you go, folks. That is today's episode of War and Peace Wednesdays. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it's not Wednesday, by the way. But we had to do it. I took a nap yesterday, and I ended up starting way too late. Nobody showed up. So couldn't have that. So I did a restart today, and I'm so glad that everybody's here to experience that. Thank you. Let me know what you thought. But I love this story. It's so interesting how I mean it feels so modern, like with all these, like, you know, like the whole narrative will stop like we saw in this episode, right? And then you hear what their thoughts are, what Andre was thinking. He's like, I'm gonna die tomorrow. What are we even doing discussing this? It's already been decided. Yeah, no, Lenny, clutch cargo, keyboard face smash. Dude in white was still clearly breathing. Well, he's alive. He's still alive. But so we see his story is not over. It's close to over, though. But this is Andre's time to experience what true love means in his state as a POW. Not a POW, but as a war wounded. He's heavily wounded, poor feller. But anyway, folks, this was War and Peace Wednesdays. Thank you, everybody that came by. Lenny, Clutch Cargo, Keyboard Face Mask, iPlatinum. Thank you, iPlatinum, for coming back in here. Kissing Gonzo and Zeo Duke. Thank you so much. Very sorry, Evan the Gracious. You know, it's interesting, Evan the Gracious getting all riled up about nationalism. Wasn't that ironic? I mean, that's one of the major lessons from War and Peace is the dangers of nationalism. Asking ourselves, why are these people, you know, I'll die for you, Tsar. Why? What did he do? Why are we doing this? Is any of this necessary? And here we have Evan the Gracious One being not so gracious and pointing out, you know, why nationalism's so bad. Kakistan better than whatever stand. I mean, come on, buddy. You know, they knew this in the 1800s. EOD, thank you for coming in, EOD. Nidnak, thank you, Nidnak, for coming in. Davey, thank you, Davey, for stopping in. And Panda Man as well. Thank you for stopping in, Panda Man. I do appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. It's that death monologue that got me as he looks into the sky. He thinks he's going to die. He thinks he's going to die. Thankfully, he doesn't die quite yet. Spoiler alert. It takes him a while, though. It's very tragic. So stick around. Watch it. We got a lot more drama. We got a lot more War and Peace. You know how thick War and Peace is? I mean, it's like this, right? So we're about this much through the book right now. We're about this much through the book. We're technically not halfway through it yet. but we're getting closer to the halfway point of War and Peace, folks. It is an epic story, and let me tell you, we're going to know more about Natasha here, and that poor woman. The actress that plays her is absolutely amazing. So stick around for that. You're going to love it. War and Peace Wednesdays. It's actually not going to be happening next Wednesday as well. I have some family obligations or something. Something's happening on Wednesday. I can't do it on Wednesday. So it'll probably be Tuesday or Thursday. So thank you, everybody. Big props to your boy Lenny, #1 financial contributor to the stream. Check out his YouTube channel, Accidents Waiting to Happen, folks. Lovely YouTube channel. Make sure you check out Clutch Cargo's Twitch channel. Aren't you streaming? Or no, that's Chrono Stampede. Chrono Stampede's the one doing the gamer streams. Hey, you got it, Lenny. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. And don't forget, folks, my 3-step program to create political change. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, join a progressive political organization in your area. Step 3, put in the work. Put in the work so we can avoid massive wars and dying wearing feather plumes. Wearing really nice clothing. Like all starched up, wearing our nicest clothes, and then we get wasted on the battlefield. That's not cool. After you get done watching War and Peace, you think very prophetic thoughts like that. That's not cool, bro. All right, everybody. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, I just bless you. I just put the fuck rag, drop it on the jacket. Drop a for the nigga like a pamphlet. Yeah.